Hey, great Monday evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again to another episode of Conversations with Chosen Pen. As with previous weeks, we are excited to have you with us. We are excited to know that you are following and that you are sharing. Hint, hint, like and share. We are growing our community as quickly as we possibly can. So we wanted to make sure that you were aware of the fact that we're here each and every week, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're always here ready to share with you something that relates to publishing or to spotlight the beautiful people that we have an opportunity to meet and do business with. So if you've not already liked and shared, please do so. Dr. Norma is with us once again. That's 2 weeks in a row, y'all. That is 2 weeks in a row. And we have another fabulous guest. And she's going to come on and say hello. But before she does, let me say this. We've got some exciting things going on in the world of Chosen Pen, one of which is a book signing this weekend. So if you are in the Fayetteville area, we would love for you to join us at the Shop Boudoir Boutique that's on Rayford Road. We're going to be doing a book signing there, The Gift of Freedom, one of our newest releases, which is the anthology that focuses on love and forgiveness. Listen, you got to get a copy if you don't already have it. This bestseller is, look, we've gotten a lot of great commentary, a lot of great feedback on this particular book. And so you'll be able to stop by, pick up your copy, get a gift from us, and the owner, Tara, at Boudoir has a gift as well. So that's this Saturday. And then next month, Dr. Norma and I are going to be in Atlanta, or I should say the Atlanta area. And we would love to connect with you while we're there. So be on the lookout for more information about that. Dr. Norma, if you want to say hello to all of our friends and family.
Hello, friends and family. As you can see, we are just so excited about all the things that are going on with Chosen Pen. We are definitely growing and moving and doing exceptional things as people call and try to get us or ask for our help and our support. So if you need anything in the publishing arena, the production arena, the wherever we are, whatever we're doing, we're here to help. I'm here to help, especially with writing, because we love books. And I think that's where we're heading tonight. But please listen to Miss Anissa, Dr. Anissa, for this Saturday. If you haven't purchased your book, Gift of Freedom, please do so and join us this Saturday. We have had some wonderful reviews, so I think you'll enjoy the book.
I absolutely believe so as well. We've got a lot of excitement because the owner of the boutique is really excited about us being there. She uses her boutique to support community. And so I think we're the first event of her 2024 season. So yes, so thank you again. I'm gonna say Tara, either way you pronounce it. She says she is pronounced both ways, depending on whether you're in New York or in South Carolina. But anywho, thank you for welcoming us into your space. And so without further ado, as you already know, this month we've been talking about books you'll love to read. So we have a fabulous author. Yes, we did it again. Thank you, Queenie Clem, for being an excellent source of referrals. Miss Laquita Parks is our guest. She is an author, and she, like myself and Dr. Norma, is very much engaged in the publishing process. So we're going to talk a little bit about not only her books. We're going to save that for last because they are definitely probably a book you'll want to read or love to read. But let's just talk about the practicality also of what it means to work with someone who understands the process of publishing, because it can be a very intimidating process. Before we do that though, we want Laquita to tell us about all the hats she wears. I'm sure like most women, she wears some hats at the same time, no doubt about it. Laquita, thank you for joining us today, for saying yes to this opportunity to be our guest. Tell everyone a little bit about who you are.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both so much for having me. And Queenie, that's my girl. She is amazing. So thank you, Queenie, for the referral. I appreciate that. So my name is Laquita Parks, and I am the CEO and founder of Pay Pro V Publishing. And Pay Pro V means pain, progress, victory, because I believe without pain, there is no progress, and without progress, there can be no victory. So I help people take their stories from a thought to a realization. And I believe that 100% of everybody living and dead has a story. And I think that somebody is waiting on the other end of our stories so that they can get healing from their stories. So publishing is a passion of mine. It's just one of the hats that I wear. I'm also an author, also a coach, a mentor. I think my favorite hat is Nana to 5. That's my most favorite hat. think you're muted.
So you got 5 grandbabies.
5 grandbabies.
So what's the ages of those babies?
So my daughter has a stepson. He's 11, so that's number
Okay.
1. And then I have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old.
Wow.
And they are Nana's pride and joy, and they all Nana. I love it. I love every minute of it.
All right. So how long have you been on? How many years, or well, maybe not necessarily years, but how many books have you written, Laquita?
I have written. I actually lost count. I've written and published 10. But I've written more that I've not yet published. I'm working on those 5 grandchildren that I just mentioned. I've written a book for each one of them.
Oh, wow.
So I'm working on getting their books illustrated and publishing them. And so I've written stories about my life. I've written memoirs. I've written and published children's books. And I absolutely love it. I wrote my first book in 2016, had no clue what I was doing. I was mentoring. I am a mentor, and I was mentoring young ladies. And I kept saying, you can do anything you want to do. You have to love yourself. And I kept preaching to them. And I'm the victim of medical childhood trauma. So it was important for me to write my story. But I wrote my story to show those young ladies at that time that they can write their stories too. And we all have a story. Little did I know that in 2016, I would be here doing what I love to do, and had no clue. So God, we make plans and God laughs. So, so that was my first book. And I love it. I love it.
Well, I'm believing that Dr. Norma can relate to so much of what you just said. Dr. Norma, jump on in here and just let her know she's not alone.
No, definitely, because the Holy Spirit and I have conversations all the time that I'm always saying no, but of course we always end up doing what it said. And I'm a big believer in that, and that everything that happens for the good, and nothing happens in our lives without God having sovereignty over it. Oftentimes we don't want to believe that, but as Christ followers, that's the most important, one of the most important things in our lives. And of course, we all need to put that down, including myself, as I say, and listen to the one that's on the right, the Holy Spirit, and not the one on the left. It's probably me and my conscience. No, that is not my plan. That is not what I do. As a matter of fact, starting the publishing industry totally was that same type of conversation that I had. And that's why I'm here today, not because I wanted to be here.
Absolutely. My story started at the Mayo Clinic. I had to go to the Mayo Clinic, and after my 4th visit, 4 months at the Mayo Clinic, the doctor looked at me and said, "While you're not dying, you are suffering." And I thought, what? And while I was there, I had people calling me saying, "How did you publish your book?" And I'm thinking, you guys should be asking me how I'm doing. Can you help me? But you're wanting me to help you. But I kept it to myself, and I did what they asked. I helped people while I was at the Mayo Clinic, and I found that it gave me a reprieve from what was going on with me at the Mayo Clinic. And so when, fast forward, when I said, okay, one of my friends said, "Hey, you do mentoring, you do coaching, you might as well add publishing." And I was like, well, what would I call it? And one of my authors suggested Pay Pro V, and I shut it down immediately. I was like, that doesn't roll off the tongue. And a couple of seconds later, I'm like, well, what does that mean? And he said, pain, progress, victory. And I said, that's the story of my life.
Oh, wow.
And so Pay Pro V Publishing was born. So helping people take their stories from a thought to a realization. And it has been a beautiful journey, not without pain, not without struggle. But then my road to becoming a Christian was not without pain and was not without struggle. And as a Christian, as a woman of God, I still go through pain and struggling. However, there's a peace that passes all understanding. I'm able to transition through it and be successful at what I'm doing, because I believe that God has gifted me with the ability to do what He wants me to do.
Right. That's good. That's really good. Thank you so much for sharing that. We concur. I concur. Dr. Norma concurs, because that's our platform and that's what we truly believe. And let's just address the elephant in the room. Someone might be watching and thinking, why in the world is Chosen Pen Publishing having a conversation with another lady with a publishing company. And and before they even were to ask the question, I will say there is plenty out there for everybody. And some of y'all ain't acting right, as we say in the South. Anyway, so you need to be using someone like us. Now I don't know, Laquita, how long your business has been in existence, but Chosen Pen just celebrated 10 years.
Whoa,
And
congratulations.
despite the fact that there are a lot of people who are interested in publishing, many choose to go a different route. I would love for you, to tell us or to share with us why you believe a novice should secure the assistance of people that know what they're doing. So let's just be honest, okay? So what do you say, Laquita? What do you say?
You know what? I agree. And thank you for addressing the elephant in the room. It wasn't an elephant in the room for me because I believe that collaboration is key. I work with a lot of people who are publishers, and that doesn't bother me. I say that there is a McDonald's and a Burger King on every corner.
Absolutely.
And then now there's a Wendy's, and then there's a
Chick-fil-A.
And you know what? And those other they're serving burgers. You know what I'm saying? So I may not want Burger King today, but I may want Wendy's tomorrow. But it's okay because we're all getting to that point. So my whole thing is I may not be the one to help you with your story, but you guys may. And congratulations on 10 years. That's amazing. I started Pay-Per-View Publishing in 2020. And have done quite well, have been able to publish for over 100 people. And we're working on our 10th anthology for different people. So it's been a blessing. It has not been without its pain and struggles, but anything worth it is just worth it.
Right.
So I think it's important. We were having a brief conversation, Dr. Short, earlier, where when people come, I believe sometimes people have unrealistic expectations, and sometimes they don't know. And I've worked with people, or I've worked with people who try to control a process they don't understand. True. And so we get a lot of people, and I'm sure you guys have experienced that, where somebody's friend told them something and they need to do this, that, and the other, but they've never published a book. They've never done, they don't know the process. So they have what I call communication noises. And so the one thing that I have to do when I meet with people, and I get a lot of referrals, I get a lot of repeat business. I have clients who've published twice or 3 times. I have one who's published 6 times with me. And when we have the conversation, the very first conversation I have, when you kind of get that resistance, is, do you trust me? Because if you don't trust me, this will never work.
Yeah.
And so I do a lot of explaining the difference between self-publishing, the difference between a Random House, or the difference between Big Brother Publishing, and what it means to have your book accepted by them, and what it means to have your book. I have a lot of people that come, I want to be a New York Times bestseller, but they don't even understand that. And they don't understand what it is and what it means to go through that. So I think it's important, because if you don't have to do it alone.
Right.
You don't have to do it alone. And when you tell your story, you want your story to be well received. You want it to be well received by your audience. You want people to connect with it. And I've purchased, I'm a purchaser. I love books. I absolutely love books. It doesn't matter. I don't have to publish your story, but I will support it and I'll buy it. And I've done that. And sometimes I feel like I'm not trying to be critical, but as a publisher, when you have your publisher hat on, you can't help but read it and look at the formatting and say, okay, wow, who did this? And I try to be very honest with people, and I have people in my circle who are very honest with me. And I remember, and it broke my heart. I was listening to a podcast, and you know how we multitask. And as I'm multitasking, I'm hearing this lady's story, and I stopped doing what I was doing. And I went to Amazon and I purchased her story. And when I got the story back, I read it. It was an amazing read. And I was like, wow, the whole time. It really could have been a Tyler Perry movie. However, the way that it was published, the way that it was formatted, the way that it was edited, I could not refer that book.
I know.
So instead of bad mouthing the author, I called the author. I sent the author a message and I said, "Hey, I got your book, and can I offer some feedback?" And I asked them, did they want the feedback? And they said they did. Are you sure you want the feedback? And I told them, I said, if you have overcome everything in this book but God, because only God can get her out of the things that she'd been through. I said, and I asked her who published her book. And I made sure to tell her, I'm not saying this to be critical. And I'm not even advocating to do the publishing because I don't have time. And I suggested, and she said, how much does it cost? And I said, well, I'm not advocating that I do it. I said, but you can go in, and I said, and have somebody else to read the book, because there are a lot of errors. There are a lot of, and so I never heard from her again. Never heard from her again. And it's unfortunate because, and I don't know where her story went. But it was an amazing story.
Laquita,
somebody told her, people take your money. They take your money.
Oh, in a minute, honey, they'll take that. They'll cash the check. Dr. Norma, I'm gonna take a swallow of water off of that because we could sing this. We could come up with a song and make this a mass choir conversation, right? Dr. Norma, do you want to speak to what Laquita has said?
No, I mean, it breaks my heart, because if God has called you into this giftedness to help people write stories, I suppose he has the people that he wants you to write, or the people that want your help. Because when you get those books and you see those books that have been published, and you go, the first thing, oh my gosh, first, the editing is terrible. I mean, I don't think anybody even knows anything about editing a novel or editing books. They'll say, well, so I got an English teacher to edit, but they don't often know. But you got to know what the editing tools. You got to know what to edit and how to edit, and that's not necessarily something you have to learn. So you see that, and when you go back to them and say, I don't understand. I said, well, did you read it aloud?
Right.
Did you read it? Did you, something is not happening here. But a lot of times we fail to realize that the people write the way they talk.
Excellent. Absolutely.
And when you're going, baby, when you work writing like you're talking, you have a mess, because that's why you have editors. That's why you have, if you want to put out a quality product.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes to be a quality product, and we all the time, like you said, New York Times bestseller. Well, you have to have a bestseller to get on New York Times bestseller list. And you gotta have enough people to buy your bestseller. You gotta have enough readers to that's a whole process.
And not over the span of over 10 years. You have to have it right,
like immediately.
It's hard to understand.
and they need to have it.
Just it hurts you to your heart, because they have, and as you say, they have great stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people, every one of us has a story. God has given us a story, and that story is not for us, but it's for someone else. He has someone else out there desperately waiting for your story.
Exactly.
But it has to be prepared for them to read it.
Yes.
In order for them to get your story.
Right. They have to be able to understand it and connect with it. Right. And it's a very difficult role for some people. And so I think there's the from one end of the spectrum to the other. There is, I have the story, I want the story, but then, I don't want to pay this much for it. And I don't want to pay for the editing, and I don't want to pay for this. Then you're not quite ready for the story. And then my favorite one is when it's edited, you have to read it and make sure, because editors are human beings too. Right. You have to read it and make sure. I've had people to say, hey, I paid you to do this. And I had to tell one person, I said, listen, you have to think of your book as your baby. Mm-hmm. And you have to think of us as the daycare. You drop your baby off at the daycare. You want to make sure when you pick your baby up that we have dried the baby, we have fed the baby, we have, the baby got clean clothes. So you want to make sure that when you edit, so you want to read to make sure that as the editor, that we have not changed your story.
Exactly.
It relays what you want it to relay. So if we've changed your story, then it's no longer your story.
Exactly.
We want to know if you meant to say, we want that to come across that's what you meant to say. We don't want to change it, because when we change it, we change the tone of it.
Exactly.
So you have to read to make sure that we're relaying what you want to say.
Right. One of the things I often I say repetitively with our clients is that we are partnering with you in the completion of your book. We're not writing the book for you.
Absolutely.
And the editing process is the most delicate, the most sensitive, the most time consuming, and the most costly part of the publishing process.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have found that many times when you have novices, one of the reasons they don't want to go with a company such as, Pay Pro V Publishing or Chosen Pen Publishing is because they don't want to pay the cost.
Exactly.
They'll say, I'll get my aunt, who was an English teacher for 35 years, to edit my book. And I'll say, well, she's going to proofread it, but she's not going to edit it.
Exactly.
Because editing, and then sometimes I go into detail about what editing actually is, and they'll go, oh, well, thank you for explaining the process.
Right.
But they still don't go through with it. We've had people to reach out to us who have books, and they want us to assist them with, it becoming a, Amazon bestseller, because they want to have that designation. Mm-hmm. And of course, our standard is we must review it before we even take it on. And, 9 times out of 10, Dr. Norma says this has to be redone. It has not been properly edited. You need to create a second edition because what you have is not up to par. And they don't know, and they've sold copies, and and they're using the language of wanting to become a New York bestseller, New York Times bestseller. And I'm like, you don't even have it formatted properly. They are not, this is let's do the basics first.
Exactly.
I think it's so important, and that's not to negate anyone choosing to self-publish, but I had a conversation with a young lady not long ago, and I said, what we do is to support the novice who has no clue as to what they're doing.
Right.
Or if you do know what to do, but you don't have time, we're here to do it for you.
Exactly.
And if you want it done right, as with anything, you've got to have somebody who understands the process in order to do it right. You just don't want to do something to be doing something. So what is one bit of advice you would give, other than to say, call us, Laquita? What you would extend to someone who's choosing to write a book? If they were going to get started today, or let's say they have the manuscript already ready, what would be the first thing that you would extend to them as advice?
The first thing that I would extend is, if it's already ready, the first thing that I would do is to find someone you trust. Do your research, find somebody that you trust who is knowledgeable, and talk to that person before you send them anything. I hear too many nightmares where people send their book to somebody, and then the next thing you know, it's published under somebody else's name. They've stolen their work. So copyright your stuff. But talk to somebody about the process, and then when you agree to go with that person after you've done your due diligence, after you've researched them, then trust the process. Trust the process. If you say, okay, this is what we need, don't fight them on it. And I understand that it's different, but get comfortable with being uncomfortable until your book is published. Trust the people. They, just like you said, you're right there working with them. We're holding your hand. And I say we hold your hand through the process, but you can't snatch me back when I'm trying to pull you forward.
Right.
So trust the people that you are helping, that's helping you to take your story from a thought to the process. So what do you guys say, from to monetization?
Conceptualization
to monetization. Exactly.
Right. So just trust the process, because it's not going to work otherwise.
No,
it's not going to work. And if you and one quick thing, if I've trusted you, if I'm paying you to help me, then I'm not going to pay you to help me, and then I'm going to go over here and listen to the, the empty wagon crew make a lot of noise telling me if I was you. And, I and people who know me know that I'm real funny about that if I was you kind of thing.
Yeah.
If I was you, I wouldn't. If I, somebody told me to tell you, no.
And I tell them quickly, that's fine, sweetie. That's just absolutely fine. So take let them do your book.
Exactly.
Whoever they are.
My feelings are not hurt. I mean, it's not
right.
Wrong.
Right. Exactly.
The issue is God wants you to publish your story, but somebody's waiting for your story. It's up to you to decide how you're going to do that.
Exactly.
I'm here. He's put me here. But if this is not where you think you belong, then there are plenty of other people.
Exactly. Exactly. We've had clients who've reached out to us, and I do the initial conversation with them, the initial conversation about, what we do, who we are, what we offer, and I provide them our pricing. And then I'll say, now, before you commit, go check some other clients
Exactly.
out. And what I want you to do, however, is to compare
Mm-hmm.
apples with apples.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go talk to the Fruit Loop clan. And we're the Apple. It's not a fair comparison.
Right.
And a lot of times, they may choose to do something else, and that's totally fine because, like as you stated already, Laquita, and even Dr. Norma says, everyone is not our client.
Right.
But for those who are destined to do work with us, they will do work with us.
Absolutely.
The thing that I think it hurts my heart. We had one client, as I shared before the broadcast, is that we had a great conversation with her. We sent her the contract and everything, and she opted to go with another company.
Mm-hmm.
And she published her book, and then she wanted us to help her with some marketing. Well, we looked at the manuscript, and it was not formatted properly.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we looked at how much it was going to cost for us she was going to really need to do some, pay for it to be edited again before we put our name on it.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the assessment, she would have spent more money than if she had just worked with us in the first place with everything, and of course she realized that, and I conveyed that, and she was like, oh, wow, but we didn't hear from her anymore. Then you have the horror stories where it's already been edited, and I got my book cover, and I've already paid for my they don't say copyright, my trademark, which trademarks are not applicable.
It's not right. That's wrong.
And then they find out that the editing wasn't done. They paid money already. They paid all this money out, and to have nothing, So it's been a very interesting journey for me in partnering with Dr. Norma. She has taught me so much as a result of being connected to Chosen Pen. So I'm glad you were on here. I just want you all to know that Chosen Pen did not pay for this interview. We did not pay. Look at your part.
It's free. It's free.
We just became connected a very short time ago. So let's shift gears here, because we do want to give some time for you to discuss at least one of your books, because this month is all about books you'll love to read. You've mentioned that you've authored or you've penned 10 titles. So what would you offer to someone as one of the best titles to embrace, one or two of your pieces of your books?
So because I'm talking about my story, I would say Walking Limitations by other people's definition. It was my first book. And listen, before you guys go judging me, it's my first book. I had no idea what I was doing. I self-published it, didn't have a clue, but it's my true life story of what happened to me. I was a victim of medical childhood trauma. And so I share my story of being crippled at the hands of a nurse. So because that was my first book, I didn't even market that book because I just published it to show these young people that you can do whatever you want to do. Fast forward to 2021, that after my Mayo Clinic, that book began to pick up speed. So Walking Limitations is my true story. And so my second book is kind of a follow-up to Walking Limitations. And this is this book, The Ability to Outrun My Walking Limitations. And this book is inspirational stories of my pain, progress, victory. So I decided that there's so many, I teach Bible study on Wednesdays, and we're talking about suffering. And there are so many people, including me, I don't know a day without pain in 49 years, stemming from what happened to me as a child. I love a good inspirational story. I love a good cry. I love a story that's going to make me tear up, because it's purging. It's purging. And so what I decided to do with The Ability to Outrun My Walking Limitations, I decided to make every chapter an inspirational story. And it's my story. It's a chapter about my son, and mother to son. It's a chapter about raising my children and the things that I went through, and just to inspire people. And as a treat, I wrote a letter to my 100-year-old self at the end of the book. And so, and after, right before I decided to publish it, I started thinking, I wonder what is your but God moment? What is your, how do you feel? What's your mother to son? So I put some thoughts to consider. at the back of each chapter to give people reading an opportunity to just kind of jot their but God story. So those are the two books. And you know, it's funny because when you talk about bestsellers, Amazon bestseller is definitely a little bit more reachable than New York Times bestseller. Honestly, I think they kind of give those out like lollipops. And so you know, when it came time for a bestseller campaign, I didn't do it. I'm really good at talking to other people about their stories and pushing their stories and not mine. And I released the book and I didn't tell anybody. I didn't publish it. I mean, I published it, but I didn't share it. I didn't post it. And I was talking to a friend of mine who I published She Said Yes to Herself anthology. And so she's like, LaQuita Parks, what are you doing? And I said, you know, I just put it out there. And she's like, well, I didn't see it. And I said, I didn't put it out there. What? You didn't put it out there? And she said, why not? I said, I don't know. I guess I'm scared. She said, well, do it scared.
Do it scared. Don't be disobedient.
So I put it out there. And I posted it and I said, I'm going to do it scared. I posted it and I did one post and I left it alone. And Queenie sent me a message and somebody else sent me a message saying, hey, I need the link to your book. And so I said, okay, I was in bed late one night and I said, well, let me, you know, do it from my phone. And as I was trying to remember, I said, well, what description did I put on the book? So I went to Amazon and saw that the book was number 11.
Wow.
New releases. And I didn't do anything. I didn't market it and didn't do anything. And I was like, wow. And I was grateful. I was like, thank you, Lord. I'm number 11. I wasn't even trying. And then there were others that said, oh no, we got to do better than this. And so the book became a number one in new releases, top bestseller in 2 categories. But I wasn't trying because I understand the label. I'm all about quality. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care about the Amazon bestseller tag. I don't care about that because it's easy to get that. You know, sometimes some people say it's not, but you can get that. But what I care about is the quality.
Yeah,
how many people can my story reach? Because there's somebody waiting. And I have an amazing circle and an international connection with I Am Magazine. And so, you know, the story is read. I've had people reach out from all over the world saying, hey, your story touched me. And so that's what matters most to me. So
matters most.
Walking limitations and the ability to outrun my walking limitations, which is just to kind of follow up. Those are the 2 books that I would say is front and center on my mind.
That sounds great. Listen, one of the things you've just spoken to is another bit of advice I would add to the advice you gave earlier, is that when you work with a company such as PayProV Publishing or Chosen Pen Publishing, you get the benefit of the community that is attached to us. And it's because of your community that your book became a bestseller, even when you weren't trying to become a bestseller. It's because of the community and the attachment and the collaborations and the relationships that you get to not only be connected to a platform that gives you international exposure, but a platform that'll take you to stages like with Chosen Pen. We have Dr. Norma has been successful in connecting Chosen Pen as an affiliate for the Forbes Business Council, as well as hosting TEDx experiences. And so when you choose to partner with companies such as these, it's not just about getting your book out there. It's about connecting to something bigger than yourself that will open doors that you would not otherwise have access to if you decided to go it alone. So I want to say thank you and congratulations, first of all, for your success and the work that you're doing into supporting others, for doing it afraid, Miss LaQuita. Yes, you did. Doing it afraid, and for being a champion for others. That's what you've become. Yes. In the process of your own journey, you've become a champion for others. Dr. Norma, any final comments or questions?
Well, no, since we've definitely gone past our time, but this has been really inspirational as I guess, because I'm trying to make sure I'm saying this right, because the inspiration is coming from our guest today and where you've moved from what's happened in your life to show and to answer the calling of God that he has put upon your life, and to do it without any complaint. Well, I don't know, but I haven't heard any complaint.
I try not to complain.
But to do it and to push it so others can also have the benefit of that. And I think that's what we all are trying to do in walking in our path, walking in our own, checking out our own journey that Christ has provided for us. And as long as we stay in our own path, walking in our own path, doing what he has called us to do, then we all will have the writers and the people that he has for us. And so being a publisher, you a publisher, me a publisher, everybody a publisher, there's plenty for all of us.
Yes, it
is. It's plenty. It is. Thank you again, Laquita, for saying yes to this opportunity. It's been a pleasure speaking with you and getting to know you. Thank you, Queenie Clem, again for being the connector. She gave me your name, and I'm so glad we're better for it. And we look forward to not only collaborating and building a stronger bond, but even when we're in the ATL, maybe we'll connect.
Yes, I hope so. I hope
we have opportunity to have coffee,
Yes, I hope so. And I am a referral. I love collaborating and referring people. So look out for me. I'll certainly be sending people your way. And I know the same elephant in the room. People's like, what? You're a publisher? You're going to send people your way?
I know, right?
Absolutely.
For everybody.
Absolutely.
It really is.
And we all have our own strengths.
Exactly.
Yeah, so.
Exactly.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for carving out time on your Monday evening to be with us. Conversations with Chosen Pen will be back on next week. We will be continuing with our theme on books you'll love to read, but next week's twist is going to be a little different. We're going to talk with a woman who is very passionate about championing the success of other authors. She's not an author, but she is an author's best friend. So don't forget to join us next week. Don't forget, whether you watch the replay or you watch us live, be sure to share this platform with others, because we are looking for more and more in 2024. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and make it a great Wednesday. Make it a great Monday. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.